Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Zach, aka Keith39, here to bring you another NFL Showdown. Um, Pretty straightforward slate, so going to go ahead and get right into this one. We're going to start with the Green Bay side of the ball. I'm personally just playing all three of these guys. Devonta Adams, total smash buy here. We saw Deebo Samuel go crazy on Detroit last week. There's no Jeff Okudah, who was their one guy that they'd hope could stop him, but he honestly gets it might be better because now they might just double team every time. I don't think they have two guys that can really guard Devonta Adams. I think he goes pretty crazy this game. Absolutely love Adams. Next up, we have Aaron Rodgers. No one that means anything would say this, but a lot of people on the internet, I know Aaron Rodgers looks at the internet, were saying how he is throwing the season because of all the stuff that happened with Green Bay over the offseason. That's just not true at all. I think in this spot, he's going to go crazy for the amount of time he gets to play. I think the Green Bay is going to absolutely destroy Detroit here. So the one worry is blowout and that he doesn't get as much throwing opportunities in the second half, but I'm playing him either way. Third, we have Aaron Jones. If I were to fade one, it would be Aaron Jones. He's kind of tough. I really wanted to see what his role was going to be this year. We know last year him and Jamal Williams split it pretty evenly. With Jones, it's probably 60-40. I don't know the actual number, but I bet you it's somewhere in there, maybe even 65-35. Everyone wants to see Aaron Jones get this pure dominant role. They paid him big. We all know how talented he is. Really good pass catcher, really good in the goal line. It's tough, but we know this Detroit matchup. We saw Elijah Mitchell go so crazy last week that big time fantasy football guys are spending all their fab money on him. He was pretty decently owned yesterday. I think he didn't really do much at all yesterday, so we just know what the Detroit Lions defense is going to go around yards. So in a game that I expect them to lead a lot, I probably should see a fair amount of Aaron Jones. I'll get to AJ Dillon in a second, and that is the only scare, but I'll talk more about that when we get to him. Robert Tonyan, I think he's fine, but I just don't see a way to play him in cash. The 6.4 price range, it's tough to pay for him there. I will say the one thing is, though, he's very, very strong candidate to probably score 2 touchdowns. That is very much in play. And that would be the way that he gets his value. But I am not going to chase that. So fine play, just really tough to get to him. Next, we have Marquez Valdes-Scantling. I do like MVS a lot here. He played the third most snaps, but he, from what I watched, was definitely the wide receiver too. I think Lazard played a little bit in the blowout time when MVS didn't. Either way, Rodgers was looking at him a lot, had 8 targets, only 3 catches for 17 yards. In this game that I expect that they have to double team Davante Adams and put a lot of attention on him, that's going to leave Marquez Valdes-Scantling one-on-one, and he's just very, very fast. I think it is decently likely that he catches a long pass here for a touchdown. So it's kind of tough to get hit to him too, but I do like him a lot. Packers D, I think, is in play, but no thanks at that stupid price range. I hate defenses and kickers in fantasy, but with that said, Mason Crosby is very much in play. Very good from 50 yards out, which is really good. And the Green Bay has a high implied team total, so anytime you get that type of thing, kickers are very, very in play. I was going to say, I don't know who that is. Now we'll get to AJ Dillon. I expect him to have a really solid role this year, especially in these games that they're going to be leading. I think that it's going to normally be 65-35 Jones Dillon, but I think in these games that they're up, it could be 50-50. I could see a lot of AJ Dillon in the second half. They used him as a pass catcher in preseason a fair amount, so I think that does increase his upside too. Last year when Jamal Williams was in this 2 to 3K range in showdowns, I really liked playing him. And I expect this very, very similar role, whereas Jamal Williams was a better pass catcher. But I think AJ Dillon is going to be an awesome goal line guy. So Yeah, just 3K for a guy that he probably sees 10 touches, so or in that ballpark. So yeah, it's just really, really solid play. Excuse me. But yeah, that's all I really like from that side. Over to the Detroit side. Actually, before I get away, I'm just gonna go through these snap counts last week. For the receivers, yeah, Lazard and MVS were pretty close, 39 and 36. Kind of expect that kind of flip flop. The one thing that I was nervous about was Randall Cobb coming in. Didn't know what to expect with him and Lazard, but as you saw the last game, clearly Lazard was ahead of him. Randall Cobb only had one catch, and it was in garbage time. So I think Lazard is the better play. I definitely prefer MVS over Lazard though, but Lazard has had good games. So like anytime you're playing with Rodgers, you're in play if you're on the field that much. But just he's like the number 5 option for me on that offense. So yeah, now over to the Detroit side. I think Jared Goff is fine. So last week was an absolutely horrible matchup for them, but they got into the positive game flow. And anytime that happens, you're going to see like these types of things. Well, not anytime, but a lot of the time. I'll be like, that's why I like Derek Carr last week, is because I expected them to be losing. Even though Baltimore has a strong defense, they're going to throw 50 times. You're going to get points. And that's what happened with Carr last week. That's what happened with Goff last week. That's we saw 57 attempts because they were losing the whole time. Probably very similar here today. Like I hate the matchup, just he's gonna throw it a lot, so I think he's very, very in play. Hawkinson is a tough debate. He's clearly the wide receiver 1 for Detroit, even though he's a tight end, but clearly the best receiver. We saw it last week, put up a monster game, 11 targets, 8 catches, 97 yards, and a touchdown. I don't know if this number 1 wide receiver is going to help him or hurt him because he's going to get all the attention. So, like receivers like Devonta Adams, he's going to get the targets. You're fine with him even getting attention. Tight ends are a little more difficult. But that said, like he's very, very good. It's tough for me to pay 9.6. Like I definitely prefer the 3 Green Bay guys and Goff over him, but that just makes him a strong GPP play to me. Next, we have the 2 running backs. So a lot of people panicked on DeAndre Swift last week, including myself, when Jamal Williams started. At first, I thought it was like Swift is just he's not going to play really at all. It's a really tough game for him in that game, in that type of matchup, and he was already really banged up. So I thought that's what it was. Then you look at Detroit snap counts, not the case at all. 35% snaps, 32 snaps for Jamal Williams, on 68% for 63 snaps for DeAndre Swift. But the one thing that does make me think is that maybe in positive game flows, it's going to be Jamal Williams, the guy, and DeAndre Swift is more as the passing down type guy. Although they're both good pass catchers. We saw last week Jamal Williams had 9 catches for 56 yards. DeAndre Swift had 8 catches on 11 targets for 65 and a touchdown. For this game, DeAndre Swift, as long as he's active, definitely the preferred play for me by a lot. Similar price range. Swift is just way better and played a lot more snaps. I shouldn't say way better, but he's definitely better and more snaps. So I'm going to try to find the price for Swift, even though Jamal Williams has this revenge game, so that you can play the narrative. And he went viral this week. He's one of the most fun guys in the league. Really awesome player. Just I just don't see a way I pay 7.2K for a guy that played 35% snaps. So that brings to the value, guys. We already know Tyrell Williams is out. That brings us, so you're going to have 4 wide receivers here: Khalif Raymond, Quintez, if he plays, Quintez Cephas, Amon St. Brown, and Trinity Benson. So Khalif Raymond is a deep ball type of guy. Don't really expect him to do too much unless he catches a long touchdown, but that is possible the team is going to have to throw this much. So in play, just not my favorite. Cephas saw the lowest of the snap counts and is priced second highest, so it makes me like him the least. He's also like a mean type guy where he probably ran a slower 40 than I did. Like he ran like a 4.8 something. Really, really bad, but he has got high praise from guys like Jeff Okudah saying he's the best receiver he had in guard in college. And he's been productive. Had a touchdown last week. 3 catches, 6 yards. So like he could be a guy that they try to move the chains with. I kind of expect that to be more towards the running backs. Like I expect a lot of checkdowns to Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift would boost their value in this game. But yeah, I mean, if St. Brown were to miss, he's going to play a lot of snaps. So then or not St. Brown misses. If Raymond misses, he'd play a lot of snaps. So he would become very much in play. So my two, if Raymond were to play, my favorite receiver from this would be St. Brown. He saw 60 snaps, 64%. He's not the most athletic guy, but I kind of expect him to play inside and maybe he'll catch more checkdowns. I had it here. Pull it back up. If you look at his player profiler, we'll get the Trinity Benson's in a second. When you look at his player profile, doesn't grade out well, not too fast, good burst score. Usually bodes well for the slot receiver type guys, but he had good breakout age, solid college dominator. So I think that's just 2.4K for a guy like him. He played 64% snaps last week, probably 75 to 80 with no Tyrell Williams this week. As I said before, positive game flow, good for a lot. So don't love the matchup, but I think he's a really strong punt. I heard finish that because they're working on stuff in the other room. But finally, Trinity Benson. He grades out very well in player profiler. Not as good as a breakout age, but very good college dominator. So I think at 1K, he played a lot of snaps last week. If Khalif Raymond were to miss, he'd probably play 75% of snaps. So he got 6 targets last week, 1K. I think he'd probably be a must-play situation where Raymond misses. So, gotta go ahead and conclude with that stuff in the background. So make sure you join Discord, get this injury news. And as always, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Later.